everyone. Coach Sullivan here again with MGS Coaching Football. First, to those who have subscribed, I thank you. And to those who haven't, I hope you do. I just completed my 38th year coaching football. I was a defensive coordinator, but over those years, I've been that, or I've been an offensive or a special teams coordinator. I've also been a head coach, and all of this at both the collegiate and high school levels. In this presentation, I want to talk to you about one of our match quarter variations that we call Gray 3, okay? So I'm going to give you the premise today. So in other words, the foundation of this variation to our match quarters concept, all right? So the Gray 3 rules, and again, so exactly the same as our match quarters base Gray 4, okay? These are separate on either side. So each side means on either side of the football. Okay, football is the dividing line. So the safety on either side, reading number 2. Number 2 goes vertical, man over 10, mutt, right? And 10 yards is still the dividing line. That's not going to change. 2 goes out, safety still zones off. We're going to go through all this. Safety 2, number 2 goes in. Safety's going to backdoor again. I'll go over it quickly. On the inside linebacker, when 2 comes in to him, right, cut and take him. Cut and take, cut and take, cut and take. So we'll go through that scenario. Otherwise, 2 goes out or vertical, running back 2 or mirror the cue, right? It's either running back 2 or mirror the cue. We'll go through that as well. Outside linebacker is the only one whose assignment, as you'll see, is going to change. And the change is now when number 2 goes out, and see, the quarterback's got to figure all this out post-snap. Now the outside linebacker cuts and walls and carries. So he has number 2 out. And why that's the case is the big tweak, okay, in Gray 3. 2's in or out, same thing, running back 2 for him, and then find work. Okay, running back 2, otherwise find work. And then the other person whose assignment changes is the corner, because he's got number 1 man. So this is how it works, okay? That's the premise. Gray 3, okay, it's match quarters. So the reason we call it Gray 3, right, we have 3. Outside, inside, and safety are all reading number 2. Inside, outside, and safety, all reading number 2. So that stays the same. And now because the corners are on that proverbial island, this is what we call 9-on-9 football. So this is literally what we do. And I'll bring the corners back, because we could play it 2 different ways, okay? 9-on-9 football, when we introduce this, and we introduce it in day 3, we go the first 2 days, get our quarter Gray 4 rules in place, and then we introduce the tweak here, Gray 3, okay, on day 3. As we present this to the other kids, we literally do that so now they can see. So this is why outside linebacker, your rule changes when 2 goes out, okay? Because I'm going to start with that, because this is the only one that's different. Just do that. Show your players. All right, so who's going to take 2 now, right? The corner's not there, see? So it starts and always will with the surface. So it's surface to 2. That stays the same, okay? So again, this is just a variation of our match quarters, which is the Gray 4. See that presentation in the match quarters Gray 4 on the whiteboard, right? I also have it on the Huddle Playbook. So it's numerous places here in MJS Coaching Football. But now, surface shows pass, 2's out, you got to cut, and then what's meant by, wall or carry, this turns out, we prefer you had inside leverage, that's the wall. But if for whatever reason you end up on the outside, that's the carry. Either way, you got to stay with number 2. Okay, because 2 out, outside linebacker has him man for man. Has to, right? This corner's not there. And it's identical over here. So whatever I talk about over here is identical over here. The difference, hence why I give it to you with 2 as a tight end and 2 detached. The rover for us always starts with the knockback. Always. And now the tight end is trying everything possible to avoid contact, get away from the knockback. That coupled with he's going to hear a pass, and once his hips turn, he lets him go. So as he's expanding, he knows he now stays with it. And it's the same rule, right? Cut, and if it becomes a wheel, wall inside, carry outside. So whatever leverage he has, we just say stick with it. That's why it's wall or carry. Okay? And so in essence, that's it. That's the premise behind grade 3. Corners aren't even there. They got numbers 1. Okay? And so obviously, you play this if you have fantastic corners and or you've got great matchup against whoever the number 1 is that you're playing, and you play it on both sides. I mean, we do have split coverages, but not this presentation. Okay? So it obviously is dependent upon your personnel. I would hope that goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway because as I say to you, don't ever assume anything. I try and do the same. Never assume anything. So you need great corner play in order to do this, because I'm going to erase all these lines after I talk to you about what happens with the safety as far as zone off and back door. Okay, it's the exact same as grade 4, but then I want to bring in the corners. 2 different ways we can play grade 3 with our corners. Okay, so 2 goes out. Okay, when 2 goes out here, right? Zone off. Surface to 2. Zit, 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 right? 3 zit steps, sit and zit, sit and zit. And then when it's pass from the surface, zone off is he expands out to number 1, gets his eyes on 1. That's the zone off. That's consistent. So the safeties understand corners, lockdown 1. So if this turns into a wheel, we got help over the top. Okay, to answer that question. Same thing here. Sit and zit, 2's out, zone off to 1, which means working out to number 1. Except now the focus becomes 2 turn into a wheel. All right? So if, I'm going to take care of all this messy stuff now. Okay? If number 2 goes in, right? Inside linebackers now cut and take. Boom, done. What's meant by the back door, safeties now sit and zit, and walk pedal with eyes to 1. Keeping head on a swivel, 1 to 2 in case this becomes a sluggo. Double move up the field, but that's what it is. Sit and zit, walk pedal, 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2. Okay? That's what's meant by zone off, and in the case of 2 in, back door. And then when 2 goes vertical, think the match quarters concept. Who's he going to? He's going deep. Safety's got him. And once it hits in and around 10 yards, or I'm not going to take out a micrometer. Oh, that's 9.5, right? No. Safety's going to be on top with zone leverage, dominant on top, no matter where 2 goes at that point. Okay? So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to bring in the 2 different ways we play this with our corners, okay? And before I do that, I'll make sure I talk to you about the inside linebackers, running back 2, because it brings in what we call key rush. Okay. So the inside linebackers, right? 2 in, cut and take, but 2's out of vertical. And in either case, all they do is they step with their outside play side foot because it's a little bit staggered, pivot on the inside ball of the fit, eyes to 2. He's out of vertical, pivot back. They take no drop steps. Pivot out, pivot back. Pivot out, pivot back. Okay, so now running back, and it's identical. Running back 2, a mirror the cue. That's running back 2. So now he moves over and gets in front of the cue, and now he's available when the quarterback takes the ball. We say jerks the mule and runs with it. He's now got the quarterback. He's mirroring the quarterback. If the running back goes into the pattern, the inside linebacker takes him. And depending on what 2 does, they might have help from the outside linebacker. But the big one, if the running back fits in protection, this is what we call key rush, and your key is the back. So if he's in protection, you add to the rush. You blitz the open gap. That's a given. That's an automatic. That's what's meant by key rush. Your key's blocking, you rush. And the key is the running back 2 because 2 didn't come to you. All right, boom, done. So the last thing I want to talk about here is the play of the corners. Okay, play of the corners. The 2 ways we play it, again, our alignments are disguised. They're lined up 1x7 Oscar. Meaning outside. So the receivers come out, they look, right? They take top of the coverage too high, outside. All right, I know what we got, or they think they know. Quarterback does the same, the guy in a press box. On the snap, if we're playing what we call off man, okay, so we have off man. We start off in off man. On the snap, they stem, move to Ike, inside leverage, and they play number 1 from there. Off man. We say take the charge, keep your feet hot. Right? Do not take any steps toward the receiver unless it's a short pattern. You see the ball thrown, obviously, and I'll come down, balance up, make a good, sure, high tackle, right? Otherwise, we can say take the charge. Let him come to you. Keep the feet hot, keep inside leverage. Play off-man technique. It's a whole nother presentation. That's the first way we teach it. The second way we teach it is what we call press man. Okay? Press man. So they're still going to line up a 1x7 Oscar because, as we know, wide receivers, right? As I said, check the shell. Okay, they have to turn their head and look in, see the ball snapped. All right, they have to. So what we teach our corners is, first of all, we got the snap indicators between the wide receiver and the quarterback. So in the gun, right, does he drop his hand, lift his foot? What are the snap indicators between the receivers turning his head and snap indicators? Okay. So between receiver again and snap indicator, they're going to stem, screw down hard, inside leverage, and play press man, which means you're pressed as close to the receiver as you can be without being offside, okay, with inside leverage. And now you're going to play number 1 from there. So again, you got tremendous corners. This is what I would do. In fact, if it's a matter of you think you can get into the receiver's head, show it. Don't stem to it. Come right out and show it. But if you want to surprise them, I would suggest you stem to it. Because remember, it's 9-on-9 football. So for us, as I started this with, erase them, they're not there. So the 2 ways and 2 techniques, and press man's another presentation as well, is we always start off, unless, again, like I just said, we want to get in their heads and show it. right? We start off in our base outside Oscar 1x7. On the snap, we stem in when it's off man. On the receiver's head, as well as the snap indicator from the quarterback, we screw down with inside press leverage and play them from there. And that is gray 3, the premise of gray 3. It's a slight variation of our match quarters base gray 4, but it's one that the quarterback has to figure it out post snap, and that's asking a lot, okay? Because as you'll see, we can also play press zone in our base gray 4, but that's another presentation, all right? So as I said at the beginning, thank you if you've already subscribed. If you haven't, I hope you do. And as I said to everyone, any questions, please reach out to me at coachmjsullivan@gmail.com because I would love to talk football with you.